another. Mainstream media. Government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones. The Genesis Communications Radio Network proudly presents The Alex Jones Show, because there's a war on for your mind.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have Congressman Ron Paul with us. We'll be posting this interview in full at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. He joins us to give us an update on his wife, Carol, wonderful person we're all praying for, then the Russia-Georgia situation, the economy, and the upcoming police state situation with the microwave guns, the secret FEMA camp now exposed in Denver. We've got him for one segment because he's obviously got to be there at the hospital in South Texas with his wife, Carol. Congressman, thank you for breaking your silence after the last week of your wife being so ill here on this radio show. Thank you for joining us.
Well, it's good to be back with you, and I feel a lot better, even though we had some tough days. She was on a breathing machine for 12 days, and she got off the machine yesterday, and they got her out of bed yesterday. So I'm feeling a lot better, and I appreciate everybody's concerns.
Well, you're a medical doctor, but for those that don't know, getting someone off a respirator and getting them up, this is huge news.
Yes, it is. It's a big, big step, and you can imagine what it's like to lie flat on your back for 12 days. One thing she said was, "Wow, I'm weak." So, but she's doing well.
Well, I've talked to people that have been on respirators. It's also very painful to have it pushing your lungs full. And
yeah.
Wow, she's a trooper. Well, I'm sure the prayers had a great effect, and folks, keep those prayers up. Now, to kill any rumors, you are currently going to be at the big rally for the Republic with Jesse Ventura and all these huge musical guests. You're going to be there, barring some turn for the worse.
That is right, and things are looking better there for a couple of days. I didn't know what I could do or would do if she were like that, but she isn't. She's getting better, and she'd want me to be there, so I have all the plans. I've been talking to staff more now about the details of the schedule, and it's all coming together. And throughout the campaign, I was worried about the rally. Some days we only had 3 days to put things together, and yet the people always showed up. So I'm optimistic that the people are going to show up. You want to see your crowd, and you want to fill it, because, if it's slightly less full than it could be, then the media say, they didn't show up.
Well, I mean, you don't have a lot
sort of thing. There's
14,000 tickets. I mean, you don't have many more to sell here, do you?
No, a couple thousand, and we're going to probably get the students come back into town that day, I think September 1st, and that's where we get a lot of support. You know how many young people have joined us.
Yes.
I think the young people, when they come back to town and realize that there's still some standing room positions, they're going to come.
Well, there's no doubt that it's going to oversell. It's going to be a barn burner, and people always wait to the last minute. Ladies and gentlemen, a week and a half out, they've only got about 20% or 15% of the tickets left. You're not going to get them if you don't buy them very, very soon. And before the congressman leaves us, we'll tell you where to get those tickets. Now, let's get into the really big issues here. You have been talking about how the West has been encircling Russia, moving weapons systems in, the neocons, Israel, NATO moving advisors in, clearly ordering the sneak attack. That's now come out. The media spinning it, saying that Russia attacked. Total contempt for the public and the facts. Can you give us your geopolitical analysis, Congressman, on what we're looking at here with Georgia and now the Russian ambassadors kicked out of NATO this morning, according to the Associated Press?
Well, I think this is a good example of why we argue the case for non-intervention. We are in places where we shouldn't be, and it just leads to a lot of problems. But also, it shows you how the two parties are just thinking exactly alike. Both McCain and Obama says the same thing. Send them more money. Send them more support. Send them troops if necessary. And being very aggressive. And that to me is just so typical of the problems that we face. And you were right in your opening statement there that it was the Georgians that started the military attack. And yet, when you think about what's happened in the last week or so from the media, how many reports have we heard even suggest that maybe there was a balanced position on this. It was 100% essentially said, it was all the Russians' fault. And all they should start thinking about is, how would we react if the Russians were in Mexico stirring up trouble on the borders and claiming New Mexico as part of Mexico? Something like that. We'd be livid and infuriated, and yet we are butting against the boundaries all around the Soviets. We're taking that oil from the Caspian Sea and running it through Georgia, and we have a puppet government there. And these are the unintended consequences, maybe intended by some people, who knows. But it's about oil, and it's about our empire, and it's about the establishment running roughshod over the American people.
What do you think the New World Order crowd, because it's not just the neocons, NATO's behind it, Israel, their foreign minister and their defense minister are not even Georgians, and Israel bragged in Herat they had 1,000 troops involved, 1,000 Israeli mercenaries. What were they thinking to gain from launching a dead-of-night sneak attack on South Ossetia, and even having, this is confirmed, Georgian peacekeepers in with the Russian peacekeepers actually stabbing them in special forces maneuvers in the back?
Well, obviously they condoned it and encouraged it, and why, because it doesn't work out so well, even from their viewpoint, you wonder why they do it. I guess they deceive themselves. Look at the mess they probably actually believe that they could conquer Iraq and solidify power there, permanently control the oil, but it didn't work out exactly that way, and I'm sure they are just distorted thinking. But now we, the people, will have to suffer the consequences. When Obama comes up and says, well, what we need to do is immediately send them $1 billion, I'm all for that. Does he ever say, where are we going to get the $1 billion? How are we going to squeeze it out of the American people? How are we going to take it out of the pockets of the American people? And they're all in big trouble. Oh, well, we'll print the money. Oh, we'll print the money. Oh, then all your bills are going to go up because the dollar's going to go down. They never talk about that, and that's why our revolution that's going on now just has to be successful, because I think there's a growing number of us who are just sick and tired of what we're getting.
Absolutely. What would you do as president? You're no longer running now, but what would you advise if they would listen to you? And obviously our listeners can then go out on the campaign trail and call the media, and then this can be put in an article, and then we can push it to the public. What would you do in a relationship with Russia? What would you do in hindsight, but now currently, since this new Cold War has been started?
Well, we should talk to the Russians, and we should deal with them and be friends with them and trade with them and tell them that we have no intention of intimidating you. We don't want to put missiles right up at your border, claiming that we're going to protect Europe against the Iranians. The Iranians don't have missiles. They have no nuclear weapons. They can't even make gasoline for themselves. So it's just a farce for us to say that we're there. And I'd tell the Soviets or the Russians that we have no intention. We're going to take those missiles out, and we're getting out of NATO. We don't even care about NATO. Instead of expanding NATO and trying to get Europe to intimidate you and surround you, I would say that we ought to just back off. If we don't get out of NATO the first week, just say, look, we're not going to keep pressing to get all Eastern Europe to belong to NATO. Fortunately, the other European nations didn't accept the membership of Georgia, or our problems would be much worse.
All right, a few final questions moving quickly here. The economy, they're talking about MSNBC, CNBC, top analyst about Merrill Lynch collapsing, Wachovia collapsing. They're saying now, after telling us 6 months ago that the worst was over, that the worst is to come. We have a respite in dollar plunging, but it's still low. Where do you see all this going?
Well, I think we have a long way to go. They can prop things up, and they can sort of fool the markets, and, the plunge protection team can get in there and buy and sell and manipulate markets. But ultimately, the market is all-powerful. I would say that at the very, very most, we've only had 25% of the correction that is necessary. So I think we have a long way to go. And as long as government does everything to prop up bad investments, it makes it that much longer. And the longer they wait for these corrections to make, the worse they are. And I think this is what we're witnessing right now. Instead of a small number of companies and banks going bankrupt now, they're going to prolong this and it's going to be very, very painful. I think this could last a decade or longer before all this correction. Japan took a long time. Their market collapsed in, I think it was 1989, and they still essentially haven't recovered the financial benefits of their markets yet.
So this is going to worsen the long term.
Pardon me?
You think this will worsen the long-term economy?
Oh yeah, I think it's going to get much worse. Even though in the short term they may be able to prop up and fool some people, but I think what they're doing is just prolonging the agony. To me, it's sort of, and I use the analogy of a drug addict. They just keep giving the drug addict another fix. He feels better, but eventually the patient dies if you do that. So
do you think that
we're going to kill the dollar?
Is this being propped up for the election?
Oh, I think they always do that, and also I think maybe this Georgia incident could be part of the goal of the most radical neocons claim that McCain benefits from this.